properties that might offer a real estate contract, or what's referred to as an REC, you might wonder, what is an REC and how does it affect me as a buyer? Basically, a real estate contract, or an REC, is just an agreement between a seller and a buyer where the buyer buys the property on an installment basis. So in effect, the seller becomes the bank for you. Now what does that mean to you as a buyer? There are some good things, there are some potentially bad things. Number one, I think the most valuable good thing is the fact that you don't have to qualify. So if you're self-employed, if you just started a new job, if you don't have good credit, maybe you don't have bad credit but you don't have any credit, those kinds of things, you would still be able to buy a piece of property using a real estate contract. So number one is you don't have to qualify. Number two might be down payment. The down payment that you have to make when you purchase a property is negotiated between you and the seller. So it could be as little as a few $1,000s, it could be as much as 10-15%, depending upon what you negotiate with your seller. I think the third thing is you don't have to worry about closing. You should still close at a title company, I believe, but there's not as much involved in closing a real estate contract. It can be done quicker. Now, the one thing that you're always going to hear that you might be concerned about is you might hear people say real estate contracts are good for sellers and bad for buyers. The reason that is said is because a real estate contract does not require judicial foreclosure. What that means is the seller, if you don't pay your payments, the seller does not have to go to court, hire a lawyer, and sue you to get you out of the property. What happens is if you don't make your payment on time, the seller can have an attorney send a demand letter, which will give you 30 days typically to make that payment. So if you don't make the payment within the 30 days, all other things being equal, the seller could take the property back from you. So that's the one thing that you need to be aware of and understand, is that when you buy on a real estate contract, it's important that you make your payments on time. And I always tell buyers it's important to stay in touch with your seller. This never happens, or rarely happens, but I think it's important for the buyer to stay in touch with the seller and let them know what's going on. If you're going to be a few days late with your payment, call your seller, let them know. The escrow company, you can call them and tell them, but they're not really, they're just a servicing agent. They're just the one that accepts the payment from you and passes it on to the seller. So keep in good contact with your seller, let them know what's going on. Given an understanding of real estate contract, I think it's a great way to buy property. I've bought several properties myself over the years on real estate contracts and continue to do so. So I hope that answers a question about what a real estate contract is to you if you're the buyer on a piece of property.